Welcome to Smart Branding, a podcast dedicated to branding, naming, and domain names. I'm Tatiana Bonneau, and with my guests, we try to help you create and grow strong, memorable, and meaningful brands online. I believe time is one of our most precious assets, and so I want to thank you in advance if you decide to spend the next 30 minutes with us. I promise to do my best to make those worth it. Let's go. So today our guest is Henning Schulze. Am I pronouncing that correct?
Yes.
Good stuff, got it right first time. He's a film director and an artist, founder of Paradise Studio, where with his team he's producing edgy, authentic visuals for global brands like Adidas, Dior, Porsche, and others. Hi and welcome, Henning. Thank you for making the time.
Hello. Bonjour, ça va?
Ça. Vous parlez français?
Yeah, un petit peu. But that's more or less everything I can remember.
Well, that's better. That's better than what my French was when I met my husband, because I've studied it at school. But I had good notes, but I was bad. I just knew how to get away with the good notes, but nothing stayed in my head. So when I met him, and which is I should be ashamed of myself, because my granddad was a teacher in French. Like he was a francophone and everything. And when I met my husband, he was like, "Oh, do you speak French?" We were talking in English. He's French, he's Parisian. And I was like, "Yeah, I know some words." And my vocabulary was basically "Bonjour, je m'appelle Tatiana, je suis un élève de cinquième." And the only other thing I knew was from a song, which was "Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?" which makes for ridiculous vocabularies, but now I'm better. Yeah.
I mean, I can order food and drinks, and
that's
and the most important questions beside the other one is où est la plage?
There you go. What else do you need? Cool stuff. So
Nothing.
Yeah, let's start with a bit of background. Yeah, you've been in film producing for freelancing for 20 years. We just touched on that just before the interview. So tell me about that. How did it all start, and a bit about yourself and what led you to film producing?
Yeah, I tried to keep it short because, I mean, definitely it's always interesting to see where people are coming from, but I'm always very interested in where the people are and where they want to go. So, I started with a traineeship in 2003 at the local TV station here in Hamburg, Germany. And I just realized after a couple of weeks that that's something which I'm really interested in, and which is really my cup of tea, so to say. And on the one hand, it's like the technical part, working with the camera, the editing. 20 years ago, it was more or less everything was analog. So you had like really large cameras, you had magnetic tape, and you needed to have really very expensive and large equipment, which has changed drastically. Because right now you can't see this, but I'm holding my smartphone, my iPhone in my hand, and I can do more or less everything on my iPhone when it comes to video producing or producing content for Instagram or TikTok. And the phone has so many capabilities. You can cut out people without even using green screen and everything. So it's like really, you're not limited by technical equipment anymore. You have everything in your pocket, and that's what I really like. And what's something which I've seen in the change in the industry. I've more or less lived through or lived with. It started with the DSLR cameras, which were like photo cameras, which were able to shoot video and which had a very cinematic feel because of high depth of field. So it wasn't, you could produce with a very cheap camera, you could produce very high quality content. So, and that's what I really was interested in and fascinated in. So, and that's why I'm always like focusing, or that's why I think that my advantage or my let's say unique selling point is the storytelling, because it's not like a technical advance, because every 10-year-old can do videos. So if you give them a handy, and just everyone can do a video right now. So in the end, it always comes to the storytelling, how to build up a story, how to be interesting, how to find the right talking points, find the right things you want to say or you want to tell, or what's the takeaway for the audience as well. So
definitely. Yeah, that's funny. You mentioned how technology has changed, and it kind of made me think probably a silly thing. But I bought myself a camera because, like, I did some photography masterclass and stuff, so I was just interested in that. And a few times we went on vacation or somewhere, we're traveling, and I'm taking it with me, and it's that enormous, heavy camera that I realized I'm just walking it around. I rarely take it out, so I've even stopped taking it because, like you say, you have the phone. It does decent quality pictures for all you need, and find the probably, like, I can print them in a huge format, the ones I take with a big camera, but where, how many of them? It's just that it's not even comfortable to take it out, set it up, take a picture. You're just doing everything with your phone. And where it touches, I guess, on businesses and on brands, it's like you said, you don't, it's not just you don't have that excuse of, oh, I don't have the budget for whatever equipment. It's literally you have all it takes. It's the storytelling that you have to get right.
Yeah, and on the other hand, you also need to have some guts because positioning yourself in front of the camera, it's not that easy. And I mean, you get a sense of working with professionals. You have such it feels very easy to stand in front of the camera. If you're watching TV or having a host talking to you and explaining things, you think, oh, that's very easy. But I mean, it's the same when I'm watching Messi playing soccer. I think it's very easy as well.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of practice to let it look. Yeah. So, so it's you need to have some guts to present yourself in front of the camera. But I think that's a very smart thing to do. Put yourself in front of the camera, in front of the microphone, because I mean, that's branding has I think there are two things when it comes to branding. The one side is the design part. Oh, and there's somebody coming in.
It's okay.
So, yeah, it's Corona. You have the design part and corporate. And the other thing is how the emotional part of the branding. What's the story you're telling? What's the thing that people can connect to? Because people can't or won't connect to a logo or to a sign or whatever. It's how can you fill this brand with emotions? And what kind of emotions do you want to tell? I mean, okay, the people can't see the video, but you have some trophies in your background. So, and that's more or less the approach that Nike is doing as well. They're not selling shoes. They're selling success in sports. That's what they want to sell. So,
Nike, yeah. So many times when we're talking about branding, and whether it's naming or design or now storytelling, Nike is always up there, and it's not an accident. Yeah.
I mean, there was a couple of years ago, there was this meme going around with all the fashion brands more or less having the same logo. Because they all changed their logo more or less to a type font, which is looking very similar. It was a very clean and more or less boring type font. But it just shows you that the logo isn't that important anymore, because the people, if you know the brand, they're playing around with the type as well. I mean, Supreme is doing this as well. They're not using just their box logo, but they're using all different kind of types to write Supreme on their stuff. So it's there's not this strict guides for using the brand. Okay, just give me a second. This could be, I think you can hear it, this sounds in the background.
I don't know.
What was it fine because it was?
Yeah, that's
right. Yeah, okay.
That's fine. Yeah,
so
it's okay.
Okay, now I lost my train of thought, but I think it was...
We were talking about storytelling and how it's becoming more important than just a logo or just a visual on its own. Yeah. And definitely. And as consumers, I think we've become a lot more demanding. And I see that even more with I'm going to sound old now, but with the next generation, I'm looking at my kids and how they are and the demands they have. For us was good enough to know, I seen it in an advert somewhere. It doesn't even matter if the advert was good. It was almost like they have the budget to be on TV or on radio. They must be a reputable brand. That was enough. Doesn't matter if I even seen the whole advert. It's just I've seen something they're there. Now they're reading everything inside out on the package, Googling the brand, who is behind that brand, the people, what do they say on Twitter, everything. So it really is about that authenticity throughout the whole thing, and also the people, the humans, who they really are. And that's where, storytelling is really, really powerful.
Yeah. And I mean, we have like we have like everything. If you're looking for headphones, you have like thousands of headphones you can choose from. And I mean, in the end, it's like really hard to tell which headphones are the best, because you can't really tell if you're not like, even if you are an expert, you can't really tell which headphones working the best for everyone. Then in the end comes to head size and usage and whatsoever. So, and that's where branding comes into play, because it's not about the product anymore. It's about like, what do you want to communicate? When the iPod first came out, there was like these white headphones with the cables on, and the iPod was very expensive at first. Still very I'm not sure if there's still an iPod, but it was very expensive at first, and something where you had to think twice about buying things. But then you had like the status symbol of the white headphones with the white cable, which nobody else had. And they weren't the best headphones, but it was just showing, I have this iPod and I know what's going on. Like, it's kind of a code, so to say.
It is. Yeah, exactly. Cult brands. And people use that as a expression of themselves. It's like, what does that tell about me? Which is, again, where it has to have a really strong story that people can relate to and sort of make it their own, because, they, with those items that they communicate that about themselves. Like Nike, again, you mentioned, but there's like, most of my stuff is Nike, and I'm going to lie if I say it's 100%, everything they do is the best out there. It's not. But, there are some things, and I have bought other shoes in particular also, especially for trail running, from other brands, because they're like more adapted or better, and I've tried them. But it's almost like I feel like I'm cheating on someone. It's a struggle for me to buy something else, even if I completely logically understand it's a better thing and I need it for that particular reason. It feels bad. Like, that's how strong that connection is.
Yeah, it's the same for me. When I was looking for new headphones, I had 2 or 3 to choose from, and I chose the Apple ones. And maybe it's not even the wisest decisions, but just it was the easiest, because I don't want to spend too much time thinking about those kind of things, because you won't find a perfect solution. So if you're finding a solution which fits like 80%, that's fine for me. And then I can move along and take care of business or other stuff. So
Why Paradise Studio? What's the story behind the name?
I had another agency before, which I started in 2007, and which I sold I made my exit in 2020, just before the first Corona lockdown hit Europe. And then I started new, and I mean, more or less, I did this for 13 years. So more or less everything which I had connections to, or where I had memories to, like being productions or private life or whatsoever, were in some kind of way connected to my old company. So, and that's why I thought, okay, what can be better than my old company? It's just Paradise. And obviously the first thing when I'm coming up with names, I had some other names as well. But I was just Googling Paradise Studios, and there are like a lot of photo studios which are having the same name, or you can find Airbnbs on Bali and whatsoever, which having the same name. So that was my approach, to say, okay, if people are looking for Paradise Studio, I want them to find my website first. So it's like the same approach, which, the rapper or singer Pitbull.
Yeah.
If you're now Googling for Pitbull, you're going to find a picture of him at first place. And then the second one is the dog. So that is more or less the approach of choosing a name, which is like very generic, so to say. But I took the same approach, which I'm just talked about. The name is the one thing. The other things, the emotional connections you can build up, and what kind of life you're putting into Paradise Studio. So that's, in the end, that's the thing that matters. It's like, how is it run? How it is communicating? How does it look like? How does it feel like? And that's more important than the actual name. And even the brand I registered isn't the name. It's just like the palm. It's just the logo. That's the thing which I think is most important. It's like if you're, I don't want to compare it to those big brands, but when you're thinking of Nike, you're thinking of the swoosh. When you're thinking about Rolex, you see the crown. So it's like you always have like kind of a symbol attached to the brand, and it's like not even, they don't even have to write their name underneath, because it's very familiar. And that's why I'm having like this palm registered, and I want to use it on many things, and not just like for video productions, but also for goods and fashion as well.
Yeah, because you are also an artist. I saw the paintings, I saw some video. What else did you do? Oh, tell me about like the art side of things.
Yeah, I consider myself as a multidisciplinary artist, and even when it comes to art, it's kind of storytelling, because the pictures I want to produce are somehow, they're not very abstract, but I want to tell a story, or if people are looking at the picture, I want to have them have a story in their mind, so they can connect to the artwork or whatsoever. But I want to like, foster the fantasy of the people, like, so that they seeing things, they get like the same mood or feeling that I want them to have. And it should be very happy, empowering. It's very, it's more or less always happy. It's nice colors. It's positive. It's, and
I love it.
And that's like, it's like, and that's the same goes for when I'm directing commercials and whatsoever. It's the same approach, that you want to tell a story, you want to have a positive feeling about a brand or a scenario or whatsoever. But the difference between like painting and the commercials is that the commercial has to be on point, and that it needs to be clear. So the message needs to be clear whenever. On the art side, for me, it needs to be over, because then that's where the viewer comes into place, and they should have their own story or connection to the picture. And there are like so many different touch points to the pictures, and the people always see or interpret so many things into those pictures, and that's so nice to see. And it's always more or less so different from what I was intending, but that's what's so amazing about like doing the art. And and it's also
it's like in psychology they say like whatever you talk about, you're talking about yourself in a way that's kind of like you draw the picture thinking one thing, somebody will see it thinking another thing, somebody else will see it thinking completely different thing, because we all reflect that to our own experience and character and story.
Yeah, no worries. And the interesting part for me is that I'm not a really good painter. And I never considered myself as a good painter, but I just started like almost 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago. No, 2 years ago, I started with painting, and it looks like very childish, so to say. I'm drawing or painting like a 7 or 8 year old kid, but as I'm using quite large canvases, you can get a sense that it was like not a 7 or 8 year old, and it was like now a 40-year-old man painting this, and that gives the whole art some kind of lightness and freshness. Because I don't, it's not that I don't care. I want to, if I'm drawing an astronaut, I want to it should look as realistic as possible, but through the limitations of my hands. And that's fine for me, because in the end, you still recognize the things that I'm drawing. You recognize those as they intended to be. So you can see if it's a tennis court or a basketball court, if it's a mobile phone, if it's an astronaut or a car or a planet, and whatsoever, you get the sense that this is a planet. But through my capabilities, cars don't always have like the right proportions. So they're looking quite of meshed or too long. So, but that's something where the people interpret stuff into it, because I draw a car and it was very, the dimensions weren't right. And the interpretation was, because there's so much energy coming from the car that it like really changes itself. Because it's so fast, it's like compressed and whatsoever. And that was like really interesting to see for me. It wasn't my intention, but it's like, that's like one thing as well, that maybe the interesting stuff is not the perfection, but lies in the imperfection, because then you have room to think about stuff. Because if everything's perfect, let's just say if I want to do portraits, why should I paint them if I can just take the phone and make a portrait? It can't get any more realistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything what I'm doing with my hand is an interpretation. It's the same with the phone. It's an interpretation of what I'm seeing and so on. But it's still, if I'm painting, it's getting more abstract. And so you can play around with everything. Was this working with the dog? You can't hear the dog. Perfect. Yeah.
No.
That's fine. Yeah, then sorry. It's an open space here.
It's okay. Yeah. What sort of a dog is it?
Gray hair. I don't know the breed. I can ask. Australian Shepherd.
Oh, cool. They consider the smartest dogs.
They'd be considered the smartest dog, but not this one.
Not this one?
He's always barking at me when I'm coming down the stairs. We're here. No, she's not. And I'm always, because you rush down the stairs. And even if I'm walking like in slow motion, I'm getting barked on. Yeah, so.
I was trying to tell you something. I don't know. Yeah. Talking about
maybe she wants to talk to me, but then she should learn German. Yeah, I don't speak Doggish.
Get a German Shepherd. You got the wrong term.
Yeah, get a German Shepherd. Maybe then we go to station.
There we go. Cool stuff.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Lyrical. What's it? Forgot the word. No, we were talking about imperfections, and it reminded me of a quote from actually a Bulgarian author. He was writing poems, and he has a very good quote on that. He was talking about grammatically correct phrases are like a line drawn with a ruler. Like they're perfect, but there's no life in it. And that's exactly like what the feeling I get with, you said, I mean, you can take a picture and it's perfect. So what's the story there? What's the life there?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely probably a lot of work behind it to take a perfect portrait from people. Oh, yeah. I mean, there are like some artists who are really capable of producing very, very more or less perfect portraits of famous actors and people. And so, but yeah, I'm more interested in the emotional side than the technical side in the end. That's where I lay my focus on, because the one thing is like sitting down and learning, and I'm more like a doing person than sitting down and watching and learning. It's more like, not think too much about it. Just get into do things and then just see how it works and then learn and adapt and then get your experience. And if I'm getting to my boundaries, which sometimes happen very quickly, I can still search on the internet for solutions to my problems. But first of all, it's always like making. It's not that I'm like switching my head off, but everything, when you're thinking about stuff and you're thinking about what can I achieve in my life whatsoever, there's like always, you have so many limitations and you start to limit yourself because I can't fly to the moon and whatsoever. Why can't, I mean, there surely, if you make a real plan and so on, you can figure out a way to get there. Maybe that's not the perfect example, but there's so many things in life where I just feel, even for myself, that I'm just like, where I start to limit myself. And when I'm always starting to limit myself, it's the same with when coming up with ideas for new films and you're working with clients. It's like, I need to be the one who was pushing the boundaries way, way, way too much. So when the client comes in, they're always like more conservative. Of course, they have their goals. They want to have their job in a couple of months. They want to stay in their job. They don't want to lose their job. So the risk taking is not that high as it is for me. So that's where let's just say you have like 150% craziness into this idea. And if we keep it in the end at 110%, we're still 10% above the average and the other brands in the same market. So you have a small advantage, but still from my point of view, you're losing 40%, but still for them, it's like, we gained 10%. And that's just like, that's why I'm just trying not to limit myself, because there's not anything. There was just like yesterday or whatsoever, when people starting their brands, it was like, I think the McDonald's founder founded McDonald's at age 52 or whatsoever. So it's like, there's not, you can start a brand and be successful and be very successful with 40 or in your mid 40s and whatsoever. So there's not a limit on how old you can be to start something and be very successful. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the thing is that what you hear and what you see and all of those, young entrepreneurs that are super successful,
they're not the majority by far. I think if you look at the statistics, it is more like late 30s, 40s, which is logical. I'm like 38 now. I mean, if I compare what I know about myself that I can apply to, and then all the other knowledge about other things and how I can do to any kind of anything that I do now, it's just nothing compared to, or the other way around, what I knew like 10, 20 years ago. But I thought I knew everything, which, is the case with, many. So definitely, I don't think people should limit themselves, at any age. And let's get back to, go ahead.
I mean, it's more difficult if you're getting older and you're having kind of a standard to your life, because you don't want to lose, let's just say you don't want to lose your car and whatsoever, house or office and whatsoever. But in the end, those are just like things. Yeah. And you have to find, or at least that's why the new agency is called Paradise, because it's something which needs to be 100% fulfilling for me and not for everyone else. And it's my paradise. And that's something I'm working on and I'm building on. And that was the approach in starting a studio called Paradise. And it's something which is not only limited to commercials and video works as well. I started doing with my art practice like 2 years ago. So that's something which I'm working on. It's like not like 20% of my time goes into the art stuff, but I want to do more art and do more exhibitions. That's like a main goal for this year. And it's just something, even if you're not a good drawer or painter, you can still do good art, which the people can relate to and connect to. And it's the same. If I'm showcasing the pictures online, you don't get like a really good sense of the dimensions and what influence they have on you if you're standing right in front of them, because of the size and whatsoever, and you can't see many details. And it's really, even for me as a professional videographer, and I know how to take pictures and so on, it's really hard to take a good picture of my artworks, which really represent the artwork, because it's really, really, it's not working, because as soon as I showcase the pictures live and the people can experience them, standing in front of them and seeing them and getting a feel how it changes the room. Because if you're having like a canvas, which is like 2 meters high, 3 meters wide, it changes the room, the conception, the perception of the room as well. Because if you're having like a black or dark background, it just sucks up a lot of light. And if you're having like more brighter colors, it's more brighter. So it changes things. And the same thing goes when I'm talking to people about my artwork standing next to them. There's kind of like projecting things they're getting from interacting with me, being like very, just say, I don't have an energy problem. Usually I don't have an idea problem as well. It just comes on focusing on some ideas and just doing, and not just doing like 100 ideas at the same time, but just limiting myself to, let's just say 5 ideas or 3 ideas and just like pursue them, finish them, and then get to the other ones. So, and then they're saying, yeah, your pictures have so much energy. And I think maybe they have, but maybe it's something which you are getting from interacting with me. And then just feeling, oh, he has a lot of energy. And then my pictures having a lot of energy as well. If it's seeing the pictures just hanging on the wall, they don't tell anything. But when you then get like my background story, how I approached the like painting the picture and what kind of mistakes I made or what went wrong and so on, then it's getting like, then I just see, okay, there's like totally a different connection to the artworks as well.
Oh, it's the story. Yeah, exactly. So,
and it's the story again. So it's the same with commercials and art. Because when I'm doing art, I'm the brand. It's Henning, like, so to say, the brand. And then it's like the experience with me, the emotion experience is something which then gets projected onto my artworks. And that's the same how like branding works for products as well. Just a bit different, but because from my experience, I don't buy a car. Let's just say a car. I don't look at the specs, how many horsepower it has. I don't care about that, because I know definitely I don't want to have like a slow car, but I know from a different level on going upwards, you don't feel a big difference. if you're having like, let's just say 160 horsepower, so 200, you don't.
Yeah. Well, okay, you live in Germany, so you can actually, drive quickly. But even then, like still, how much and how many times and what, it gets you from A to B. That's kind of
It needs to have the space I need to have and some of the safety systems. But then that's about it. And then it's about, do I like the color? And is the sound system good? That's like more important for me. Do I have that's how I tick. But it's just like, you don't sell a car when you say, we can accelerate from 0 to 100 in 4.5 seconds. And the next car is 4.8 seconds. You can't even see a difference in tenths of seconds. It's a blink of an eye. I mean, we're not Formula One drivers, and you won't experience. When do you experience like accelerating from 0 to 100 at all? You're gonna do this in the beginning to check out how the acceleration works and how it is, but not something which is like which you need in normal life. There's not like one scenery where it's really comes in handy that you can accelerate. And half a second. By a dinosaur.
Never know. Zombies attack. You talk about visual OVS, outstanding visual storytelling. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Outstanding visual storytelling is what's behind all my commercial video work. And it's not like really a system, but it's just like that's what I'm working on the whole time. So if you're working with me, I'm trying to do, my work is outstanding. And I just figured out, and it's part of the branding for Paradise Studio as well, that in every production I did, even in the last 15 or 20 years, and that's like where art and commercial work is kind of similar. There's like, I'm always quite emotionally attached to the product and to the task or video production. And there's like a lot of Henning involved in when I'm producing videos, because it's my kind of humor, it's my kind of focus points I'm setting, and it's my kind of ideas, what kind of pictures we're shooting, what kind of footage we're getting. So that's like, on the one hand, it's one thing I needed to learn when like producing like a first draft, and there comes positive and negative feedback, that it's not about that they're saying Henning is a bad person. It's just like, it doesn't fit their view on how they want the video to look like. It's not about me, but that's like something which I really needed to learn, because there's like a lot of Henning in my work, not only in the artworks, but also in the videos. So, and that's like, that's why I took this photo, because I think I'm very quick at understanding topics, even if they are not like daily topics, which I'm working on. Like when I'm getting, I did productions from computer IoT solutions where they're getting data, and they're just like helping companies to see if some machines are gonna fail at one point and need some repair, to producing stuff for Adidas or on sports events, and which is like different tasks, but I can very easily adapt and think myself into different topics, and then just find, and that's like one of the bases of outstanding visual storytelling, find like the 3 or 4 talking points you can put into a video, put a spotlight on them, and then find the right story, and to in the end have a video which is like a thumb or scroll stopper. So if you're scrolling through Instagram, sometimes you stop because the hook was good or the intro was good or interesting, and then the goal is to keep the people watching until the end.
And who can work with you? We mentioned some big brands. Is that kind of the category, or what type of industry, size of company, location even somebody has to be in order to approach you and work with you?
In the end, all the companies I'm working with, or brands I'm working with, it's always a bit easier for me if I'm working directly with brands and not with agencies, but I'm working or cooperating with agencies as well, which have the same mindset to it. And the mindset needs to be that it's like not like a standard film, which is like has a very clear intro and has a very straight line, and it's not really funny, but it's just something which is like quite normal. but the people who are approaching me are people who want to who are not like the top. Let's just say Nike is not working with me, but the brand who wants to get Nike off the number one spot, those are the ones who are approaching me. Companies who want to do things differently, who want to showcase that let's just say I'm working for Barclays and they're not like a typical bank. You have so the people they don't need to wear a suit coming to work. They can wear a shirt. You have a lot of tattooed people and so on, which is like not a typical picture for working at a bank, which seems to be like quite a traditional like employee. So and those are brands who are like approaching me, who want to work together with me because they're doing things differently in their niche, and that's why they need to communicate this in a different kind of video style as well. And that's like the similarity. And that can be fashion, that can be transportation, automobiles, but as well, it can be a bank as well. It can be, I'm working a lot for racing or for a magazine from Berlin, Vehicle, who are into powerboat and racing, powerboat racing. But also last year I did a lot of interview and portraits for the local support transportation here, and where it wasn't about moving along with a car, but moving along in the city without a car, using like the metro or the bus or car sharing, bike sharing, whatsoever, or just walking. And that was super interesting for me as well. And they had the same approach. They don't want to have like this classical kind of video. They just want to have something special, which helps them as a brand because they have new branding, which is quite colorful with some neon colors and so well. And that's why they wanted to have the videos looking different and be more loud and vividly as they were before. Yeah. So that's like the common ground for the brands. It's like they're in a niche and they're doing things differently in their niche. And that's why they want to have videos which are having a different approach to it.
Oh,
another client, which is like a good example as well, is Edge Technologies, which is a Dutch company, and they're building office buildings, but they're building very modern and really, really awesome buildings. And I'm not just saying that because they're client, but I'm also very much into architecture and seeing all the work and the thoughts they're putting in, and they can produce or build more or less CO2 neutral or carbon neutral buildings. But the building industry isn't that far that the processes in building a house is not that up to date or so modern that they can really produce have the whole production in being carbon neutral. But that's their approach in taking and building new stuff. So, and yeah, that's the same as well. It's a classical, traditional niche building office projects and so on, but doing it in a different kind of way, very modern. That's what they need to have, or what they want to have and need to have different kind of videos.
Very cool. So what's next? Last question. What's next? What are you looking forward to this year? You said you're kind of going to focus on getting more exhibitions, more on your art. What else?
I'm having a production in February in Dubai. So I'm not sure when the podcast is coming out. So yeah, I'm going to be 3 weeks in Dubai, which feels like a paid holiday, being in the sun and working at the tennis tournament on site. And then just like, I don't have a fixed plan. And then just usually the projects just start coming in. And if it's a bit like January is typical, or the beginning of the year is typical, a bit slower when it comes to productions, because all the companies and brands or agencies, they're just bidding like the plan for the year, doing the budgets, and then usually in spring, then it gets into doing. And right now I'm just trying to use the time that I'm having, and I'm preparing an exhibition which starts at the end of January. And so yeah, I try to use my time, which I'm just having right now on my hand, wisely in doing the art stuff and preparing and organizing as much as I can, because from February on it will be more busy with video and commercial work. So yeah.
Nice. Where is the exhibition?
In Hamburg. In a small restaurant.
Yeah, we can include links to that in the post for the podcast.
I mean, it starts at 23rd, just like off the record. It starts on 23rd, and I don't even have a flyer yet, but we just confirmed the date yesterday. So it's very short notice, but yeah, that's, I mean, we can put it in, but we don't need to put it. Yeah.
No, well, we can include it. I think, yeah. Well, we can get there. You can just like run around Hamburg and shout it's going to be there on the 23rd.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Cool stuff. Wonderful. Well, thank you. That's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I hope there were some takeaways or some thoughts which are inspiring.
Thank you for joining us in this episode of Smart Branding Podcast. Feel free to visit smartbranding.com for more information and reach out if you have any suggestions, questions, ideas, or just want to learn more about how a good domain name strategy can help you build a strong and successful brand. See you next time.